away. And okay, great. We're good to go. All right, everyone. You're welcome to another of our classes, and it's good to have you guys here. It's good to have you guys here. So I'll be sharing my screen just about now, and we'll go straight into the business of today. So where is okay? All right. So I'm not sharing on this side. All right, great. So once again, starting from the top, today we're going to be continuing in CRUD Operations using Mongoose. And as you're already familiar with, my name is Benjamin Ifinudu, and I'm a software developer, main and .NET full stack, and I'm not alone. I have here my colleague and boss in the house is experience with Node.js, MongoDB, Express.js, TypeScript, and you can always reach us out, Prosper.js and Aerosoft. So let's get straight into the business of today. We'll be continuing. In the last class, we tried to introduce API photo structures, and we talked about like some simplistic examples. So these are not like cast in stone. These are just like an example to help guide you on what you want to do. So the folder structure makes it clean, easier to read, and to debug. So if you have a challenge, you know where to go for a challenge. So in the last class, we introduced the API folder structure, and we said our assignments will be based on those structures. Then we also looked at CRUD processes using Mongoose. And in the process of the class, yes, I encountered a bug, which I think we should start our class from there. So I encountered a bug in the process of our last class, and why is my screen not showing full? Okay, I think I should get out of the full screen on this side. Okay, so the screen is full. All right. So in the process of the last class, I encountered a bug, and why we were not able to resolve in the class because everything looked clean and good to go on that part. It was more like a tested and trusted code I usually use, like a startup when I want to start up something. So yeah. So later on, I decided to look back to see what exactly was the issue, and I'll just show you. I'll just show you where the issue came from. So generally, every dependency that you pick up from Mongoose, okay, and any dependency you pick up from npm, whether it's from yarn, you do yarn install, or you do npm install any dependency. Each dependency has a version, okay. Each dependency has a version, and from time to time, these versions are updated, okay. From time to time, these versions are updated. So I'll just show you, I'll just show you what I'm talking about from there. Okay, so let's go Mongoose. Yeah. Okay, so here, this here is what we were trying to work with in our last class, and basically it was updated. Okay, it was updated. The version was updated, and this is like a new model. So this is version 6, and basically what I was working with, as you can see last published 20 hours ago. So basically all these things are being updated, and from time to time, some of the things change. So while I was still using like a require pattern that uses things like URL true and such like that, they have changed it from it being involving. Before we had to pass, where's it? Yeah. Okay, so before we had to pass this here as part of in the connect. Okay, we had to pass this before for the previous version, which is on version 5. Okay, version 5 here. So this new version now doesn't need that. So this is implicit. Okay, so it's now implicit in their function. So they have updated. They've updated that, and this no longer is needed or required. So let me just start first of all by just installing, just in case I've made any changes. I'm not sure I made any changes here. Let me just start by installing or So most of the times, one of the things I look back to is the fact that in most tutorial videos they usually specify to you, which I think I should do now. Since I'm working, I need to specify some versions of things like as such. So let me just do npm run dev to run this. Okay, to set this running and see if everything is running up to now. Okay, so as you can see here, this connection string is working fine. Okay, so it's connecting, is working fine, connected to the database and all of that. But when we try to do the initial processes, I think I close this. When we try to do the initial processes of running on localhost, yeah, let me see. Let me just see if this is up. Okay, so the challenge we were having is that it was not working for not connecting to the CRUD process that we wanted to do. Okay, it wasn't connected to the CRUD process that we wanted to do the get. Let me check the routes. So we wanted to do a get to get all the keytails and a create to create all the keytails. So if you look here, you will see that this process is still running. It's still asking for a request and not getting results. And we checked the database to confirm, and we saw everything was working fine. But basically, what was changed or updated is that this function, okay, this new options, as it's called, is no longer needed or necessary. So if you have this in your code base, you can delete it. Okay, so now this is updated. So let me do this here to get all, and you see that yes, it gets all. So just that little change, in their own API structure, just that little change. This the options here that used to be provided are no longer provided like such. Okay, they're no longer provided like such. So because of just that little change, you can see how such can affect your code. So most times you see people who are teaching tutorials, they would ask you to use the particular version. So in case you are using maybe like a YouTube video to learn stuff, and you find that what you are working with is not working, or you're having some challenge with your code base and everything, you might want to check the version. If you are working on a program, like for example, React has updated, okay, so React has released a new version. So if you do npm or npx create React app, it's going to create in the latest version, which is version 18. But if you have dependencies that are dependent on version 17, then you need to use the @ So when you want to do the install, you can do the install and use the @ to reach out to the particular version you want to get to. So that's one way you can go about that. So with that out of the way, we've seen that this is working, and I think we should continue with the folder structure. So what we were looking at is folder structure, and from there today we'll begin with the ideal folder structure I want to work with. So this by setup shouldn't be here. We only brought this out here just because we're having difficulties getting the result we wanted. So this shouldn't be here. We should be getting it directly from the environment variable. So I'm going to take this off temporarily. Then I'm going to just import. I think I could just import it directly. So I'll just say process.end process.end, and let me check if I have an environment variable set up. Okay, so I have this set up here. It's called db. Let me call it URI. URI. So let me just do this and put this back in the database. So db URI, and with this, yeah, so this is working, and you should still be able to do get. So this is working fine. So that was just the hiccup we had in our last class, and it's particularly something you might just find difficult to track, because it wasn't giving us any error response. Like here now we have error responses, but there it wasn't giving us any error response. Ideally, before, when you didn't pass those options, they will give you some error response telling you what is missing or what is lacking. But that's it. That's the life of a developer. So Once again, you guys are welcome to today's class, and here we'll be using more of environment variables. So we have the config where our database is, and there are other ways to do your configuration, but this is a good way for a start. Then here we have the controller, and the controller here has the methods that we want to use. So what we just did in our last class was just to pull out some of the methods we already had, and we've done for get all, and we've done for create, and we still have some other methods here, which for now we don't need to bother ourselves about them. You can take your time out when I post this to do this restructuring in your own system just for practice purposes. So these other methods still are functional. These other methods are still functional, and I think I had to modify the way I use my applications. I brought this out for being there. So if I was to put that back, everything is still going to work. So yeah. So what we want to do is we've seen we have the controller, we have the model, okay, here defined, and we have the route. The route is defined, and then we've imported the route out like so in the index.js. So basically, this is that. So this should be a wrap up of everything we had to do in the last class, and then today we want to move into what we will be using for going forward for our processes. So let me just open a new folder. Call this week 5. Okay, let me not call this week 5. Let me just call this. Class project. We just call this class project. Okay, so or let's just call it e-commerce. Okay, let's just call it e-commerce. E-commerce. I think I'm very small letter. E-commerce or API. E-commerce API. Right. So let's just call it e-commerce API, and let's start building. So let's start building. So this will serve like a good example of what you will need to model for your own project work. Okay, so for your own tax, I'm giving you guys tax, and for the tax for this week, this is more or less like okay, since this week we're already doing something about e-commerce as a tax, then I think we should do something different. So it doesn't just look like I posted the assignment out there for you. So let's do something different. What could we call this? What would we call this? Let's just have something like an inventory app. Okay, let's have an inventory app. Okay, so let's do an inventory. Inventory. So let's do an inventory app. Did I spell that right? No, I didn't. So let's do an inventory app. So let's do inventory API, and okay. Let me excuse myself from this first. Let me leave this workspace. Move to somewhere else. Yeah. Then let me just create a folder I want elsewhere. Okay, so let me do this. Make directory from here with directory or inventory API. Okay. All right. So let me open this up. All right. All right. So good. So for start, what we want to do for a start is we want to have some form of like an inventory app, and let's start first of all by defining what we want to do. Okay, so let me just say to do. Let's just say to do txt. So what we want to do for an inventory app is we want to be able to do CRUD operations. Okay, so we want to be able to do CRUD operations, to be able to get a particular item. So that's what we want to start with for today. Then next week, we want to look at how to do like advanced query processes. Okay, how to do advanced query processes, sorting and stuff. So what I'm going to do at the end of today's class is I'm going to populate the database with so much of information, okay, with so much of examples for the what we want to inventory about them. We look at how to do some advanced query operation. So you have an advanced query operation like populate and others. Okay, so we'll look at that, like in case we have different collections, how do you want to do them? Okay, so so today we'll just start with this, then in our next class I'll make it a little bit complicated and I will go on with that. So let's go. So let's start with our folder structure. How do we want to go? How do we want to go about how do we go about folder structure? Okay, someone is asking if we're going to learn test. Yes, we have test, but test is not at the beginning of this program. Test is towards the end of this program. So we're going to look into testing thoroughly. Yes, so we have test as part of our scheme, our curriculum. Okay, so what do we want to do? So we want to start first of all by, let me just do this in the console. Let me do this here. So we want to make this inventory app. Okay, so we want to do an npm init-y just to get my package JSON file. Okay, so I have a package JSON file. Then I want to make a source directory. Okay, so I want to make a source directory. Then for making a source directory, or let's do it the way we had. Let's make API and make config. Okay, so let's make okay, yeah, well, good. In the source directory, let me just cd into it, cd into source directory. Then here, let me make two directories. So I'm going to make API directory. I'm going to make the config directory. Okay, so this should do. All right, then in the API directory, we want to have at least some of the things we're going to use. So let's go API. Okay, so let's make our directory. You really don't need to do, we don't really need to like cd into a directory to make them. You can actually do that using, like the tags and where you want to go. But I just feel like doing that just so that I don't need to stress myself. Okay, so we have routes, we have middlewares. Let's just build everything out. Then, as the class progresses, we'll see where we're going to use them. We have middlewares, we have services, we should have validations, models, okay, and helper functions if we do helper functions. So just have helpers and like so. All right, so that should give us that. And then for the config, let me just see if I can reach out to the last one we had for the config. We want to make a database. Okay, database.js. Okay, so here to do this, we're going to import some dependencies. So we can say npm install. We need Express. We need Mongoose. Or okay. I'm going to introduce some new. Dependencies that you might like working with today. I'm going to introduce some new dependencies you might like working with today, and we're going to also need .env also. Okay, so let me just do npm install.env, by the way. Okay, so this time around, I want to try again using this, but this time without this erroneous little fellow. So here, we want to use require mongoose.end, yes, process.end, yes, works. So I want to do this using this setup again. And here, we need our entry points. So our entry points should be index.js. Then we need .env, okay. And now that we have node modules, we also need a git ignore. So, like I said in our last class, you don't ship your .env, okay, because it's an environment variable, it's a private, you store private things there, so you don't ship that to your GitHub, okay, so .env shouldn't get to your GitHub, so you want to put that in git ignore, and then here we want to declare what we need here, db URL, let me just call it URI, okay, db URI, so I need ports, and I need a port here, and I need db underscore URI, okay, and I need to fetch this from our last connection. So where is our last connection? Where is our last connection? Okay, so admin password, this is right, this is right, this is right. So here I want to change this so that it creates a new collection called inventory API. So this will change it the collection to inventory API, and I think we're good there. So here I want to begin to do my import. So um, we have been using more of const. Okay, we're using more of const so far, and you can actually use import statements. You can actually use imports if you want to, but I prefer, for the purpose of the classes, to use const so that we don't run into unnecessary errors in case. But I think it's been quite a while since the last time I've had issues using import statements. It's been quite a long time. So I think with all the recent upgrades and updates, I think it's safe to use import statements. Okay, so if you want to use import statements, you can go ahead. That's very much okay. So here, let's just import or require express. So we want to require express. Okay, we want to require express, and we want to instantiate it. Okay, so once you instantiate the Express app, then here I want to import my connection string, the connect database from I want to kick this out to connect database. Okay, just to be sure everything is working fine. And I will require this from here. Connection source, connect config and database. Okay, and then I'm going to pass it through. So I'll just say connect database, and I'm going to pass this app that is instantiated into it. So when I pass the app into it, the app is available here, and it only runs after it's connected to the database. So that's just the purpose of this. That's why I'm releasing this here, but that's all right. So, okay, then here I also want to have like a test. So I'm going to do app.get request. So I'll use this as my test route. So I'm going to send in the request and response, and just to test to see that everything is working. So let me say response.send. What should I say? Response.send. Send just a peaceful page one tag. It's a peaceful page one tag, say inventory app. Okay. So if this works, then it should give me a peaceful H1 taxane inventory app. Okay, so that's basically just that. So most times, the function, okay, the app.listen is usually at the bottom here, but from my own experience, I realized that it's going to read this page first, get to the end before this gets called. So to me, it doesn't quite affect the whole process. So it's okay connecting either the front to the bottom, but that's just my experience. You might still want to put your app.listen at the bottom. That's all right. That's okay. All right. So this is not an expensive operation. This JavaScript is asynchronous, so that's the reason why I just feel like this is going to take time. So this will run first before it gets to this, and at that point, it's already ready. So let's just console.log waiting for database so that we see that all of this gets run first. Okay, so let's just say waiting for our database. Okay, so wait for database, and just like that. So let's see, is there anything we need? We have Express, we have Mongoose, we have .n. Okay, we have .n. We haven't yet declared our schema. We haven't yet declared our schema, but we're not trying to receive anything yet. We just want to do a post. We just want to do a get request to get that information. So let us define our start. Okay, so let's define our start script. So for our start script, we can say node or index.js. Okay, then for our dev scripts, for our dev scripts, we can do nodemon or index.js. And I think everything is good to go. So we can give it a try. So let's go npm or run dev, npm run dev. Okay. All right, so that's great. So let us test and see what port are we running on port 4000. Okay, for 4000. So all right, inventory app. Great. So we're up on it. We're up here. So inventory app is up. So as you can see, it shows waiting for database connected to and that. So just like I said, it's asynchronous. So before it gets there, that's that. So all right. So let us start by. So the first thing we want to define here is we want to define our schema. We want to define our schema, and let's call it item. Okay, so let's just call it item. So here we have our item, and let me just call it item.model.schema or model.js, so that it can classify, give the little bit of classification. All right, so item.model.js. So here we want to define our schema. So we're going to import Mongoose, okay, or require. Okay, we're going to require Mongoose. And then when we require Mongoose, what we want to do is we want to define the schema. Okay, we want to define the schema, and we can do, or let's say like const item schema, as we saw. Item schema is equals to, now this is a schema object. And now this schema object we want to use is currently not available. It comes from Mongoose. So you can do mongoose.schema like this to get what you want. Okay. So this is one way to go about this. Or if we were to switch over to using import statement, then import statement has like another good way of how things are done. Okay, import statement has another good way of how things are done. So probably maybe when we're done with creating the initials, then I'll just switch over things back to import statements to see if everything goes through. And then if that goes through, then great. We'll be using import statement for the remaining part of our classes. All right, so we have type. Okay, so now we want to do the product and name. So we have a type, and here we have a type string. Now, aside things that you can get as in terms of um, here now, you have like some ways of defining a model. So if you look at it here now, you have this is one way you can start. You can say schema is equal to Mongoose or schema. And when you do that, you can then call new schema, or you can do mongoose.schema. So both of them work. So basically, the schema is an object or a function that is available in the Mongoose model. Okay, so that's it here. So mongoose.schema. So you just use schema because mongoose.schema. Then you also have mongoose.schema.object. So you have object ID also here. Then here, when you call on the new schema, you want to send in these different methods here. So here you have rather these different like descriptions of them. So here I'm going to get to object ID later. Here we have title. So you can see that you have some functions. Here you have a string function, which is a type of string. This is a type of date. You also have date functions. And apart from that, you can also add in some more features. Some of those features, for example, could be what is the default? So a default is that if you have that something is not entered, okay, if you don't enter in a value for something, then this will become the default for it. Okay, so if a value for something is not entered, this will become the default. You also have like here you can see default. So this will give you date dot now. Then you also have here, you can do a match, you can do minimum, okay? Talking about like the minimum of something for it to be true in terms of like an age. So if, for instance, you want to set that the minimum age that can be entered is 18, it means that an age 17 will not be recorded or will not pass through. Okay, so this is another example of like other features that you could have. Then we also have required. I'm beginning to hope that required is still available within the Mongoose model, so that they'll be changing things. But yes, we also have required, and required can be set to true. So if you put required true, it means that the individual needs to have this, you know, like that field cannot be empty. Okay, it cannot be empty, cannot be none, cannot be undefined. So that's the purpose of required. Then here we have some other things which we'll look at. So here we have like capitalize, in case you want to like have a function to maybe capitalize things before it returns it to you. We will see things like that in our next class. So in our next class, that's when we begin to look at this other advanced, you know, like function, save, name, populate. We'll look into some of this. Okay, so we'll look into some of this in our next class. So we want to continue. Adding information to our model. Okay, so we want to continue adding information to our model. You can see there are different types that can be there. It can be Boolean and such. So let's continue by adding some more types to our model. Okay, so here we want it to be required. So if at any point in time it's not provided, okay, if at any point in time it's not provided, you can see here, okay, great, it's still required. We can set this to true, so meaning that it needs to be provided. Now, you can also limit the entry, like the entry for a name, what the entry could be. You can say max, or you can say min. So minimum means that if it's a string, minimum means that this is the minimum value, okay, that's like the minimum in terms of length of the string that you can have. Okay, let me look for where you have age, and they're using min in age. Yeah, this is for number. Okay, so that's why you can do that. So for a string, when you talk about string, you're talking about the characters. When you talk about number, then you're talking about the age. That you need to know the difference between the two of them. Okay, so you need to know the difference between the two of them. So max and min, or then you have trim. So trim is another part which you can include. What this will do is, if the person has some extra spaces, okay, some extra spaces, maybe like if you want to put in an item name, maybe like a phone, and there's an extra space between it, this is going to trim that extra space. So that's just the purpose of that trim. All right, so what else can we give to it? We have a product, it should have a description. Should have a description. Did I get that spelling right? Okay, so you should have a description, and this description could be of similar structure. So let me just copy this. Let me just copy this. Did I get to the end there? Okay. Let me just copy this. Then what else could the product have? Probably let's say category. Let me just duplicate this. So have category. So the category, or maybe with lesser words, okay, lesser characters. So let's just say category to lesser character. Let me 25. 25 is okay. Let's just make it 30. Make it 30. The category. Here for the name, we can make the name 30, so or maybe like 50. Let's just make this 50 by default. Let's make this also 50, or let's make it 30. Let's make it 30. Then price. Okay, so it should have a price. So this price here could be a number instead of a string. The price could be a number, so you can do calculations with it. Okay, so price. We want it to be of type number. Okay, type number, and we don't need a max. Okay, we don't need a maximum price. Okay, we don't need a maximum price. We need a trim. Let's leave it. Okay. Let's try. Let's try using instead of using required true for the description. Let's try using a default here. So let's use a default here, and default should be empty like this. Okay. So we can use this as a classic example of if you don't put this, here, then it's not going to be there. So let's say default, no description. Okay, no description. Yet. No description yet. Okay, so like this. So I think we should stop at this for now. Let's stop at this for now. And we could do a date of dates now. Okay, so we could do a date of type date. Okay, and we could do a default of date now. So there are other ways to do this, or this is a good way, or it's a good way. So we could do a default of date now, and yeah, this is an item. So this serves as a good item, and from here we could do module of exports. So module of the exports equals to Mongoose. So here I want to call Mongoose. Sorry. Mongoose dot model, and I want to give it item, okay, and item schema. All right. So the purpose of this here is this is what name the collection is going to be called. Okay, so the collection is going to be called item with an S. But here you usually call it just item. Okay, so this is going to be what the collection name is going to be called. So that's basically what this does. And then this is now binding the schema, telling the model that this is the schema that is used. Okay, so that's this. Okay, so that's this. And yeah, so like this. So we have successfully created our model. Okay, let's create that model. So I think we can go straight from model to controller. So we want to use this here. So let me just call this item the controllers JS. Let me just call this that. By the way, except when you're working with using React, most of the time having a full stop or full stop here, it doesn't really affect it. Okay, so you can do this, or you can either do this, or you can do item controller. But I just fancy using this method. Okay, so you can do that. So here we want to start by importing. Okay, we want to import the model. Okay, we want to import the model that we have. So it's called, let's call it item. Okay, so I'm using import statements. I think I'm already getting used to using import statement for React and TypeScript. Okay, so let's do const item is equal to require. Okay, require, and then we want to get to the model now. Model, and yeah, like so. And now we want to create like the method we're going to call the route. Okay, so what we want to create is the method we want to call in the route. So we can create like our CRUD method. So this in here could be like to create item. So we just call this create item. And this here now, okay, could be const create item. And since we are going to call this, it's still going to go through the same pattern like we had before. You are doing a call and response. Okay, you're doing a call and response. This ES thing crying out to me that I should join that together. Okay, so what we want to do here now is we want to create the item. We want to create the item. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to create the item now, and after creating this item, I'm going to show you like a dependency introduced working with validations for you. So we're going to create the item first of all by if you want to create the item now, you can do that in a try catch block because right now we're having a synchronous call, so you want to do that in the try catch block here. Okay, so it's how do I put it now? In our previous class, we've been receiving. Okay, we've been using our we've been creating like the item here in this place, but this time around we want to receive it from out external. Okay, we want to receive it from like a request body. So for that reason, what we're going to do is we're going to expect it now to come from the request body. Okay, so we want to expect it now coming from the request body. So let's go about that. So if you say const item is equals to, now there are many ways to go about this. You can create the item like this. Here we have what we call the spread operator. So what I would do first is I'm going to show you in essence first of all. I'm going to show you in essence first of all like how you can pick up, okay, how you can pick up like the item from the request body and do your own custom validation. Okay, so do your own custom validation, and then later on we will try using another validation which comes from Joy. So yeah, if I want to do my own validation, for example, let's say for example we want to check validation. For example, you might want to get the information coming from the request body and destructure it. So let's say this is coming from the request body. So this is a way that you destructure things out of an object. So generally in the Postman, what you are sending is a JSON object. Okay, what you're sending is an object, and you're sending it in here. You go to post, and then you go to body, and then you go to raw, and you are sending a JSON object, for instance. Okay, so you're sending a JSON object, as you can see here, and then you want to destructure what is coming from the request body. Okay, so what is coming from your post request is basically the request, and then you have a dot body to receive that. So you want to destructure it out. So let me first of all, I'll comment this out. Okay, let me comment this out and console the log. What comes out from here, then we would see how the structure changes states. Okay, so let me just do that. Let me connect this. This is create function. Okay, so create function. I can export it individually by saying export.create. Okay, so I can say export.create to export it individually, or I can do module, exporting the whole module. Okay, module.export. Okay, and then I can export everything as a destructured object. So instead of calling this here, I can do const and then call it here. So whichever one of them is okay. So I'm going to go with export here. So I know everything is exported from the top here. Then in the routes, okay, so in the routes, we're going to have in the route, we're going to have item. Okay, so let me just say item the routes JS. Normally, I just prefer using those items or that, but let me do that. So here, what you want to do here is you want to call the router method out of express. Okay, so you can say const express. Okay, you can say const express is equal to require. Okay, require, and you can say express. And most of this, I'm doing this because I'm doing most of all this slow short processes because I'm trying to carry everyone along. I know some of you are experienced with using like short methods. You can do const express and you can do const router. Okay, is equal to express. Now picking an instance of express and then picking out the router from it and instantiating it. Now you can do this, and of course you need to export the router. Okay, so module.export is equals to the router. You can do this. Okay, you can do this, for example, or you can, like I usually prefer to do, just go straight to the function I want and just call it router, since I'm not doing any other method here. So this is how I like to do that. So to figure this out, this is how I like to do that. If you're using import statement now, for instance, you can just destructure it directly if you're using import statements, like, okay. Import statements, you can do it directly. What you'd have just done is here you have the destructured router, the destructured router method out of it, but I'm not using import statements today. Okay, so here I want to call the router and I want to tag along a method to the router. So what we are doing is a create item method. Okay, so it's a post request. Okay, so it's a post request, and I want it to go to this, and then I need the method that I want to use there. So I'm going to import the method. So I'm going to call this. What method is that now? Create item, and this is going to give me. Oh no, I don't know why it's not completing. If I was using import statement, probably it should be completing this or getting it out for me. Okay, so controller and item controller, and I want that method there. And after picking that method, I want the method to work to this route. Okay, so like so, and we're done with this. And here in index.js, I want to import the router. So I'm going to import the router. So I'll just call it item, item router. Okay, I wanted this to capital letter. Item router. Route, whichever one you prefer, is equals to require. Okay, so here, source API R, then here item with routes. All right, okay. Not missing anything. What is it saying? Unexpected token, unexpected token, export defaults. So it actually modified. It actually modified what I did before. So that's what happened. Node.exports, okay, is equal to router. So it modified, but it didn't modify the top. So that's what happened there. Okay, so I think out of that error. Yeah, out of that error. Okay, so let's go back to our controller and see what we have in our controller. So here we have const rec body and everything. Now, one of the challenges, however, is that we haven't yet. Okay, yes, we haven't yet. We need to use the app.use for us to use the route, and here is where we set the base URL, and here is where we call the methods. So by the time we get to test this, I'll show you the difference between the base URL and that. So here, for us to be able to get post request, we need something that is called a body parser. Okay, we need something called a body parser for us to be able to get like a request. For instance, if we were to do a request here from here, saying, let's say for example, name and iPhone 13. I don't know iPhones any longer. So if we were to do this here, it's empty. Sorry, localhost 4000. If we were to do this here now, this is not going to return any response because we don't have any response, and it's also not going to consume anything because we don't have any way of getting the body. Okay, we don't have like this information getting the body. We don't have anything there, so we need what we call a body parser. Okay, so we need a body parser, and let me just put here in the comments so you can use this. We need a body parser, and the body parser, before we needed to install a package called body parser, but right now we don't need that. It comes with Express, but you need to instantiate it. So we're using app.use to set up the body parser, express.json, and then instantiate it. So what it does is it returns middleware that only passes JSON and only looks at requests where the content header type matches the type option. So as you can see, it's a body parser. Okay, so as you can see, it's a body parser, and the purpose of it is for you to be able to parse JSON that is coming from the request. Okay, coming from the request. So that's the purpose of the body parser. So here, let me see, item routes. This is here, create item. Create item. Do we have create item exported? Exports. Okay. Did I structure it out in the routes? Yes, I did. Okay. So let me do a console.log just to be sure this method is working. Okay, so you might always want to just, before you go ahead to building or testing other stuff, create item. Okay, so just want to do a console.log to see that create item is working. So you should drop something in the console that is working. So here, we don't have a response method or response message available yet, but as you can see that it's reaching out to what we had here. Okay, so here it's reaching out to that place, the create item. But if we had this body parser turned off, let me turn the body parser off and wait for database. Okay, listening. Now, if we have it turned off, you'll see the difference. Okay, so let's go back. We don't have a response message. You see here now, it's not sending in anything. Okay, so you can see here it was showing you the item here coming from the body, but here it's not showing anything. So that's the purpose of this. So if you go back here again and run this here, you see here now it's not ready. Okay, still loading. So if you run this here now, you see here it drops in the item. So without having this, you will not be able to get past this. Okay, so that's just one point I should note there. So now we have the controller working, and we are sure it's working. We can take this off, and here, so you have okay, you have things coming from the request body, and the way they were coming is we're coming in as an object. Okay, the way they're coming is we're coming as an object. So you might want to destructure what is coming in. So rather than you getting in the object, you want to get just the name alone. So let me just show you an instance of what I'm talking about. So here, instead of me getting the request of body, I want to get just the name alone. Let me wait for this. Okay, so I want to get just the name alone, which is here. So you see this. So this is the name alone. So if you want to do validation, sometimes you might want to do validations by your own personal stuff, by saying, let's see, what are the 3 things we need from the model? Name, description, category, price, and okay, name, description, category, and price. Okay, so back then we would have used something like getting this out, the name, the category, the price, and description. Okay, so this is object. Okay, so it doesn't matter where it comes, whether before or after. If it was an array, then it has to be in the right order, but an object, it doesn't matter. Okay, so it's going to just look for wherever it is that has this particular names and get that. Now, one of those ways that we used to do this is by using conditions. Okay, so we could say like if maybe name is, let's say, if name is not equal to empty string, for instance, okay, and then you want to use or, then maybe category is not equal to empty string. I'm just showing you like an old way. This is not what we're going to use. We're going to use a more like robust or modern way of how it should be done. It should be price. If price is not equal to anything, okay, empty now, or what else? Description, okay. Description now, for instance, description is not equal to empty, okay. Then do something, okay. So maybe if this is not empty, then run the code, because this is like if it's not. So if any one of this was empty, to run the code, or if you want to say if this is empty now, maybe like all of these are empty, do something. So let's say, for instance, if any of this is empty, if any of this is empty or null or undefined, depends on what you want to put this. What do I do? Do I use rest.json? I'm just using rest.json. I'm just in message. Fill in all details. Okay, fill in all details, and let me just check this statement. So if any of this, because this is an or, okay, so if any of this is let me see if this is empty or empty. Let us run it, and if it doesn't work, we'll check for what should be. Okay, so rest of JSON. Let me put something here. Let me put something here. We can always modify this. Let me put something here. Let me put something here just to test console log, because right now I'm not thinking so fast. So consider log. What's this here? condition. Let's put this here, condition. And oh yeah, I missed the return. That's why I missed the return. So it didn't return this. Okay, and if it didn't pass through that, then return, or let's just consider log, out of condition. Okay, so if it's trapped by this if statement, it will get to this because of the return statement. So let's see. Is it up? Yes, up. Okay. Okay, so let's see. So out of condition. So out of condition. So it means our conditional string is not catching something. So let's see the kind of information that we are getting here. Okay, so let's see the kind of information we're getting here. So let me call a category that does not exist. Let's see category. Okay, so let's see category. So we're out of this bound. So let me use category. So what kind of information are we getting here? Is this here? Undefined. Okay, so here you can use undefined. Okay, so if any of this is undefined, undefined, this is not like the way, this is not like the way it's done, but sometimes in some projects that I've worked on, you might need to like have your own separate conditional statements. Okay, you might need to have your own separate conditional statement to catch something that doesn't belong. So yes, so you can see here, so it says message, fill in all details, because what it was returning was not an empty stuff, but it was returning undefined. So yeah, so this is just like an example of this is just an example of a custom, okay, a custom way that you can do, or you can track something, just an if statement, okay? So the custom way. So if we were to, for example, come out of this by posting something, let me just put in, let me console.log all the different things that should be there. Let me just pick this from here. So let me just pick the whole object. So it lists it out in an object format. Let me just console.log the whole object. All right. So, all right. Now, let's just give something. What's the name here? Category, price, description. Okay. So, category. Right now, just to see price to P. Okay. Description. Price will actually be a number, but we're not yet working with the Mongoose. It's not gotten up to Mongoose, so that shouldn't be a problem. The price is supposed to be a number. All right, so let's do this. So as you can see now, it's not reaching out to a response because we don't have a response outside of this place. We have a response here, and yeah, but here we don't have. So as you can see, we have the name, the item category. So what I was just trying to show you here is that yes, you can have your own custom if statement for different things, depending on what you want to do. Okay, you can have your own custom if statement for how you do things. But this here is just a custom if statement. As we see, we're going to need. So we're not going to use this. I want to show you now a good method or a good way we are going to use. So this is called Joy. Okay, so this is called Joy. It's a package called Joy, and well, should I say it gives me joy to use it? Okay, there's a package called Joy, and it's for validations. Okay. All right, so this package called Joy for validations. So just go straight to documentation. All right. So here you can install it using npm install Joy. Just copy this, and then here it shows you how to use it. Okay, so basically you are describing a schema. Okay, you're describing a schema, and you need to require Joy in that schema. Then what object you want to do? Just the same way we had a schema in Just the same way we had a schema in the model, that's the same way you are also building a model. Then after you do that, after you describe the schema, then you have a method which is called validate. So this validate method is going to run to validate what it is you are sending in. So I'll just show you this, but this is documentation for you to do your own, for you to easily like follow up if you want to get something. So we're going to do a custom validation here, and I'll just call it item.validation, validation.js, and I should install it. So let me install this Joy, and let me just check that it's properly installed. All right, so it's installed properly, as you can see, version 17.6. Wow, things have changed, man. So yeah, so what we want to do now is we want to require Joy. You can import, you can use your import, or you can do require. So I want to require Joy, and called JOI. And here now we want to use schema. Okay, so we want to do schema. So we want to have something like called schema, and then it's equal to joy.object. Okay, so joy.object is the schema. And then when you have done all of that, if you look at this, you see the object starts from here. These are the things you want to validate inside, and then this is where it ends. Then here, these are some new functions or methods you can tag along. Okay, so you can take time to go through the documentation to see how it's used. Okay, so you can take time to go through this. Just start by requiring. So we'll just say, let me just call it item validation. So const item is equals to, and you want to pass in the item you want to validate. Okay, so you're validating something, so you're passing it in, and then in this function, excuse me please. Now in this function, you want to create a schema that you use as the basis of your validation. And then, like we saw there, we have the object method, okay? And in the object here, you want to pass in the things from your model. So we have name, description, category, price, and date. So let me just copy them from here. Let me just copy them from here. The date is coming as a default, so we don't need the dates here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to describe what I want Joy to check. So Joy should check a number of things. So as we see here, Joy can check if it is a string. So this is one method, checking if it's a string. This is alphanumeric, checking if it is alphanumeric. This is another method. So you're basically tagging the methods together, like dot this, dot this. So you can tag multiple methods to one, property of the object you want to check. Okay. So here we want to check, so we want to say it should be a string. Okay, like so. Then we want to tag along some other methods. Let me just put some space here. Okay, so it should be a string. It should have a minimum of 2. So by 2, I mean it's required. So somebody doesn't just use like quotes and then escape that. Then we should have a maximum. So here we could decide to give it a maximum. So in case at any point in time somebody is exceeding the maximum we're providing, we can decide to make it have a maximum of the module, what we did in in the module. So you can also make it required. Okay, so if it says required is true, then it's going to show you an error if you don't provide this. So let me just copy this out. Let me just copy this out here up to here and modify this across. Okay, here, here, here. So here it's a number. Okay, so a price should be a number. Price should be a number, And now, if we use this min and max for this number, what we'll be doing is we'll be effectively saying this is the minimum price and this is the maximum price. Right now, we don't know, we don't have a minimum price and maximum price. So let me just take this off. Okay, so just want it to be required. Then here we want the content of the category to be as much as as this. Then the description could be much. It could be as maybe as much as 255. Now, if I put this required method, I will not be able to show you the defaults that I was talking about. So I'm going to remove that required. Okay, I'm going to remove the required so that we can see the defaults that I want you to see. So I'm going to take that out. So we have name, description, category, price. The date comes by default, and that's all right. And then if there are unknown things that you don't know in the schema, you might want to tag them. So these are the things that you are particular about. Okay, these are the things you are particular about in the schema. And then any other one, add it along. That's the purpose of the dot unknown there. And here you want to then return, or maybe like the schema, you want to validate the schema. So it has a schema.validate method here. And you want to validate the item that, you want to validate this item that you passed in. So that's the purpose here. So here we could do module exports, and when we have other things, you could have done exports of this or that. Let's just do exports. Let's just do exports. So like so. Let's just do exports like so. So you can do it like this, and you structure it out. So this will provide a validation. So there are many other ways, methods as you see here in the documentation, but this is a good enough method. So we want to use this here, so we need to import this. Okay, so we need to import this, so I can go by saying const, and I need to structure it out from require. Let me just get to the validation tree. Okay, and yes, and what's the method again? Let me just copy it out. Okay, so that's it. Okay, all right. So yeah. Now that you have gotten it now, you want to try to validate before you go ahead. And we will not be needing this because we can use the validation method here. So here, what we want to do is we want to validate before, okay? We want to validate before creating a new item. Want to validate before creating new item, and there's usually an error message that comes with if it is wrong. Okay, so it's like an object. So here we want to do item validation, and what we want to validate. Remember here, we are passing in some information we want to validate. So this information or this object we want to validate is what we are going to pass in here, and this is going to be the request of body. Okay, so this is the request of body. So we want to validate it, and then if we validate it, what do we want to do by it? So we say if there is an error, show us the error. Okay, so return the rest, status. Let's do the status 400 for a bad request, and let's send it as a JSON. Let's send it as a JSON. So we send the error. What do we call it? Let's call it message. Okay, so let's call it message. We call it message, and the message will be error error dot details. Okay. It's usually, it depends. I don't know if things have changed, but it's usually like an array. It's usually an array. What I'll just do is I'll consult the blog, the entire error object to see if it's still the same. If it's not the same, we'll try this first. If it's still the same, fine. If it's not the same, then I will do that. So before we go ahead, okay, let's give this a shot. Before we go ahead, let's give this a shot and see the difference we have here. So here I am going to remove this. Okay, so let me just cut this out. Can I comment again? You can't comment JSON out. So let me just copy this somewhere else. Let me just copy this somewhere else. Let me just start afresh. This is a post request to localhost. Okay, post request, localhost 4000. And we want to send something in the body, but we're not providing anything in the body yet. Okay, so let's do a send. Yeah, so you see here, it says the name is required. Okay, so it says the name is. I don't like this, but I'll think of what to do about how to remove this out later. But here, it says the name is required. So this is an error message coming out from them. So if we were to console.log the whole error message, or let's send the whole error first, for example. Let me just send the whole error. So you see what the whole error object is like. I'm going to comment this out. And let's send the whole error message. So you see what the whole error message is like. Okay. So here. Okay, so you can see now here, the error comes and it's this is the message now that this is error here. So this error is an object here. And here it has original. It also has details. Okay, so basically what we did is, excuse me, please. What we did here is from here we have error, then in the details. So you know how we did our dot notation. So we picked error. Now we're in the details. The details here is an array, okay, and the array has only one object, okay. Even though the array has only one object, you cannot. It's even if it's only one object that's available in an array. If you don't specifically reach out to that first object in an array, it's not going to, you cannot get the dot, you cannot attend to it, you cannot pick the item. So this here is an array, then this here is reaching out to the first item in the array, even though it's just one item. And then here is the message that we want to reach out from, which is here. So the message is coming like this, and this is how it is exactly coming. So right now I don't have strength to look for how to take this out, but this is here. Okay, so this is here, coming in here. Okay, so like that. So that's basically the message. So if this were encountered an error, the user didn't put in, let me console.log no errors. Okay, console.log everything provided, everything. Okay, everything provided. Okay, everything provided. All right, so if you then fulfill all the things that are needed, name, category, price, and all of such as are needed by your schema module. Let me just go here. Validation. If you provide this which is required, this which is required, and this which is required, even if this one is not required, so if you don't provide this, it's going to show. So let's start by providing them little by little. Okay, so I'm going to cut this out, and I need to take out this. So if I provide this, you see what it says. It says category is required. So name would have been the first, but now category is required. Now, if I provide category, it then shows the next one. Category length must be at least 2 characters. You can see that. Okay, so let's just say it's CT for category, and then you see the next one. So that's the purpose of this. So it gives you like a progressive, solution. Okay, progressive stuff. So let's say the price here should be what is this iPhone? God knows how much iPhone is right now. Okay, so description. Now this description, I don't want to put anything in the description. In fact, let me remove the description. Now it's going to ask me only for category. So I'm going to put category here. So let me put category. I need to spell it right. And category. What do I call it now? Mobile gadgets. Mobile gadgets. Okay. And like so. Okay. All right. So all right, like so. And then you see here that even though I didn't provide the description, even though I didn't provide a description because I didn't require it here, it says everything provided. So it's only the things that are required are provided. So if I was to then put required here, okay, I was then put required here and a comma here, okay, then you see, waiting for it. Let's wait for this, okay. Now you will see here that it's going to request for it. So that's just the purpose of that, okay. So for now, I don't want to put required so that I'll show you the default setting coming from the model. So we'll go like that. So that's there, we're done with that. So let's go back to our controller. So now that we have everything being provided, we've escaped that. We want to then create a new item. So let's just go straight to creating a new item. Let's just say create new item. You guys can read this. So let's just create a new item. So what we are doing here is we are destructuring, how do I put it? This is an object. This is an object, and the object has like content inside. So the purpose of this, spread operator is that you are more or less spreading out the content of the object, making it available. Okay, so you are spreading out the content of the object, making it available here, and it can be accessible here. So this will then become like an object. Okay, it's going to be an object now, no longer inside the name. Okay, it's no longer going to be inside the name, but it's going to be an object that's spread and available. So that's just a couple of the spread operator there. So we want to, so we've named the item, and now that we've named the item, or we've created the item, we want to await. Okay, so we want to await the item dot save. We want to await the item dot save. Okay, so you can await the item dot save. We have a sync here. When that is done, you can decide to you can decide to return the item. So maybe you can say const saved item. Okay, you can save item is equal to, this plus is equals to this, for instance, and then you want to then maybe do a rest. Okay, rest dot JSON, now response, but this should be more like a return statement, because this is the end. Okay, so you can do a return statement here. So you can return rest.json. You can include status code if you want. If you don't include it, it's still be 200. Okay, and then sorry, this should be status, not JSON. Rest.status. Okay, then now the JSON method you want to add to it. So yeah, so here you could decide to send in maybe like a message saying item successful, or item created successfully. Okay, let's spell that right, successfully, and then you can decide to return the item. So you can say item is then call it save item. So you can do that, or you can just call the item directly, whichever the case. Then if there's an error, let's consider log the error. If there's an error, let's consider log the error, so we know where we are. And cross our fingers, this should work. All right, so where are we? Gadgets, and so right now we're using this item from here, and this is from Mongoose. So we're expecting that it's going to reach out to the database and create a new item. So let me see if we're hooked up on Mongoose. Let's see if we're hooked up on Mongoose. So let's see. Let us run this. Let's run this. Let's see. All right, so it creates a new item, and yeah. So yeah, we have a new item. So this works fine. I take the text successfully, and this is the information about the item, and the iPhone is 350. That's the new price, but I don't know. So we want to check the database to see if we have such a new collection. Okay, so here, so here in the database we have that connection. So it's available here now, and we can reach it this way. So this is how you do your. So this is how you do your model view controller. Okay, so this is how you do a model view controller. Let me put this down. Okay, so this is how you do a model view controller. So this is basically just create item, and there are other things you might want to look at. Okay, there are other things you might want to look at. So let's say, for example, because believe you me, you guys are already familiar with this simple creation. So the purpose of this class is to look at what other things do you want to check, or what other things you might want to check. Let's say, for example, we have this item is already available. If I was to create another of this item, let's say, for example, I was to pass in this item created successfully, and I create this item now. Let's look at the database and see what we get. So here, refreshing in the database, you see we have 2 instances of these items, which shouldn't be the case. Okay, you have 2 instances of this item, which shouldn't be the case. So one of the things you want to look at is instead of you creating this item, multiple instances, and then you have to start tracking how many of them exist on the database, you also want to have only one item with one ID, and then have maybe like like number and stock. So let's try to include number and stock to the model. Let's see, what do we do that number and stock? So let's just say after price, let's just include number and stock. So let's say we have number and stock as a new information, and yeah, so let's say we have number and stock, and let's say the type is also number. So let me just copy this. Okay, and it's not required. Okay, it's not required. It's not going to be required because here you don't know the number and the stock. Okay, you don't know the number and the stock. It's not like the person who's going to send the request is going to know the number and the stock. Okay, so we'll just set the default to 0 here. So we'll just set the default to 0 because might not know the number and stock. So let's just set the default to 0. Default to 0 and it's a number. So if there is no number in the stock, start with 0 as the actual number that is available in the stock. So we now have a new category called number in stock, and this is the model. So how do we use this? 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 Okay, one of the ways we can use this is you might want to check. Okay, you might want to check the database to know if an item exists. Okay, you might want to check a database to know if an item exists. And if the item exists, then you want to add to it. Okay, so if the item exists, you might want to add to it. So I think we spent too long on this create method, but let's do a read, and we'll pick out what we need from the read, and we'll use it to get let's say get item. Okay, so we're going to pick what we need from this to get item. So let's say get item. So let's just do get item first, then we'll pick out what we need from this to get item, or async. Okay, something in my spelling. Async request response this and this, and we want to let's do a find. Okay, so let's do a find. So you want to find the item. Okay, so let's say try. Let me just do try and catch at once. So let's do try and catch. All right, so let's do try and catch. So const item is equal to let's await the item using the item module, and then we use the find method. And what item do we want to find? Now, in this case, we might be looking for finding the item based on what do we want to do now? Based on name. Okay, so let's say we want to find based on name, and oh, okay, this is just a general find. This is just a general find. I think the approach we use for this will be different. I didn't really take this through. So I think the approach we should use for this will be different. Let's say, for example, if we want to check if the item exists, okay? If we want to check if the item exists, we might need to get the name out. So let's try getting the name out from here first. So let's say const is commented, okay? It's commented. I'm already running short on time for today, and we need to close very soon. So let's just say item exists. Okay, so item exists is equal to await item.find. If we're able to do this, let's use find one because it should be just one instance. Now, if we're able to do this, then the name, now we can get the name from the rec.body. Okay, so we could say rec .body dot name. Okay, so I just want to try this out and comment this out. I just want to try this out. Let's see if we can get this. If we can get this, then we can continue from here. So await items exist and console.log item exists. Okay, so let's see, let's find. So control.item exists, and let's not bother creating a new item. Actually, let's not bother creating a new item. This is generally just a find. So I want to see if we can get this from here. Then based on this, we'll look for if we can continue with this. Okay, so item exists, control.item exists. Then ref.body.name. So let us see. What do we have here? This will be here, this will be here, this will be here, this will be here. Okay, so this is not creating anything new. All right, so let's run this again and see if the console will log. Okay, yes. So here it shows you that the item exists. Okay, so it shows you here that the item exists. So if the item exists, you might not want to create that new item. What you might want to do is you might want to say if item exists, okay, if item exists, that is to find such an item here. Let us say item exists dot number in stock. Okay, so number in stock. How do we call it? Item exists dot number in stock. Okay, this is how I call it. Item exists dot number in stock. Number in stock. You want to modify this number in stock now. Number in stock is equal to, so you can either do plus equal. Okay, actually do plus equal the number you're getting from the rec body. So you can say maybe rec dot body. Now rec dot body dot number in stock. So if you are adding in a new stock, okay, you want to add to it, you want to increase it. So this is going to be like a method, okay, and then after you do that, you want to save, okay, so you might want to save. So this would then be await, okay, so it can then be await item exists dot save, and then you save this, and you might then want to you might then want to what's the word now, return response here, okay, This code could be cleaner. It's looking messed up. Okay, this could be cleaner if we have some more time to look at this. But I just want to like wrap up this class pretty soon because we're already shooting close to the end of this class. So you might want to like return something like the message. Okay, let's say for example, let's say item exists stock, or let's just say stock updated. Okay, let's just say number in stock updated. Okay, so number in stock updated, and then you then want to maybe like give the new item, and then you have maybe the new item will be an object now. Then here you can just put item exists as the information that you should give. So this will then give the updated number of items in stock. Now this is an if, and like I told you, this could be cleaner. And here we could just do an else. This could be cleaner. It doesn't have to be like this. Now, if it doesn't exist, then you want to then have like the new item. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so this is like if this item exists, update it. Okay, if this item exists, update it, and if it doesn't exist, then create it. Okay, so let's just give this a try. If it doesn't work, I'll check what tweaks we can make. Let me include a new category called price, or sorry, number in stock, and let's say 3. So this is the number I want to add. Okay, so I probably just call it maybe total or stock. I don't know, maybe not number in stock. Okay, well, this is what we want to add here, and let's see. Yes, find it. Yes, after finding it, update it by this. And this here is just a qualifier, just to make sure that anything that's coming from here, an object that represents a number of any kind, just to make sure that it is not converted to a string. Okay, so just in case it's coming as a string, convert it to a number. That's purpose of this. And here is just plus equal. So if this doesn't work, we just do the number equals to this plus this, but it should work. Let's see how many we don't yet have any in the database. And yes, like I told you, that default that we saw there, you can see the no description yet, that default is there. So that default we had in our Mongoose schema is there. So let me do this here. And here it shows you, what does it show now? It shows you here, number in stock is 3, okay? Number in stock is 3. And it says the message is number in stock updated. And the issue is we have 2 of this, so it's going to update only 1. Okay, so here we have 3. Okay, so this is 3, number in stock is 3. So it first took the one that was coming in, it took it as the 3. So if I want to do this again, instead of me creating another instance, here we have number in stock is 3. So if I do this again, it's going to see, you see the number has increased to 6. If I was to add another, maybe like 10, like I have like 10 new iPhones in stock, it adds it and increases to 16. So we now have about 16 iPhones in our stock. So that's just the purpose of this. Okay, so you could do this a cleaner way. Okay, you could do this a cleaner way. But what I'm just trying to say in essence is that it's not necessarily every time that you want to have an update route. Okay, it's not every time that you want to have an update route for what you have in stock. You might want to do a create. So this is doing both create and update, because right now it is only just updating the number in stock. All right, so the update routes could now be focused on other aspects of things that you want to update, like maybe the name of an item, maybe some other things. Maybe you don't want to use a name now, maybe the name of an item or something. That might be what you might want to use the update route for. So you don't have to use the update route just to increase the number in stock. So this is the purpose of that. So at this point, I think I'll take I'll take it as so far we've come to the end of this class. You've been able to see this working folder structure. You've been able to see this working folder structure. You've been able to see the create method here. You've been able to see also that you can have your own custom validations, and you could also as well use a package which is called Joy. Okay, so validate before creating new item using Joy. Okay, using Joy validators. I'm just using Joy. So when I post this, there are people using Joy validation. Okay, so this is the purpose of this, and so far this sums up what we will be looking at for today. So in our next class, we'll be looking at advanced query. So we're looking at advanced query where we'll be looking at how to reach. By then, I would have populated the database with quite a lot of things that we could use as for query purposes. So that should be that for today. So I'll take questions if there are questions. If there are any questions, I'll appreciate. And then if there are no questions, you could also drop in a comment or let me know what's in your mind. If you have a question, you can raise your hand, or a comment, you can raise your hand, anybody. Yes, anybody? Okay, I can see one hand up. Mendy, yes, please go on with the question.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Mendy. How are you doing?
Excellent, great class.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry for my unstable attendance. I was going to suggest that, is it possible we actually have one repo and subfolders for our project instead of having to create multiple repos for each project? Unless when we're going to do like a very huge one, then we now create a separate repo for it. That's what I was going to like find out if that was possible.
Yeah. When you're talking about project now, you're talking about project in the sense of like right now we are starting a project, and like what we are doing essentially today, we are working on the inventory app project. So that's going to be that project. Then based on your assignments are going to be also in project form. So from now, I believe the last assignment I gave to you is on e-commerce. So everything we're going to be doing henceforth is going to be on that repo. So you don't need to create a new repo for it. You just continue building layer. What you do this week, next week, I'm going to ask you to include the advanced query parameters. Upper week, we're going to look into hashing password, creating users, hashing password, authentication in 2 weeks' time. So all those things will just be like additional layers or additional files on that same repo.
Great. All right.
All right, great.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Yes. Yeah. Any other person? Any other question? Any other person? Okay. All right. So I would appreciate that if you have an idea of a good aspect of projects you want us to consider for in terms of your project you're going to do on your own, okay, project you're going to do on your own as a group, as a class, because I would like to see you guys collaborate together. I'd like to see you guys collaborate. So far, you have been doing one-on-one, but as the project increases, I would like to see you guys collaborate so that we can also look at working with GitHub. Because in my experience, I've seen lots of people making like gross mistakes in GitHub, and some of them are very costly mistakes. In 2 or 3 projects I've experienced so far, on demo day, they were supposed to demo to do a demo to like the product team. Just before we were going to demo to like our sponsor, the sponsor of our clients, somebody pushed a change to the main branch, and the app was already deployed on the main branch. So it was a mad experience. I spent like 2 hours trying to, resolve the conflict, set this right, put this back, go back to base with base place and all that everything. So it would also be good that we have some experience working together. So we look at how to understand making pull requests, when to make pull requests, creating branches, looking at how to check out if you have maybe like some fixes, some bugs, some features, some things. Then working as a group in terms of managing boards. So I would like us to have a general class project which we should work on. And before anybody goes ahead to talk about Web3 or talk about Solidity, this is not a Solidity program. I just had one very stressful project working on NFTs with Web3. And I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I just need a break because it was more like an intervention thing. I was just called up to intervene at the point where like we're stuck on the project. So it's supposed to be like a 2-month project, but they're rushing me to be through it everything doing like a week. So right now I need peace of mind. I need peace of mind. So let's look for a project that is good, something that can fly, something that you think it would be a good solution that you all can work together as a class and suggest them on the group. Okay, so I'll create like a question on Slack channel. I'll create a question on the Slack channel. Then you can reply in the thread. Possible project ideas that you'd like us to work on together. And by working on, you're going to do the work. I'm going to do like the managing. So I'm just going to be Prosper and I are going to just oversee it where you are struggling, we'll guide you through and everything. So don't expect that this is what we're going to be presenting in the class. So put something that's within what you know you can accomplish with a little extra pinch of going outside of what you are comfortable with, putting yourself under some little bit of like challenge. So let it be challenging, but also let it be something within what you can accomplish. So you guys come together as a group. I hope you discuss outside of this class. Come together as a group, choose topics you'd like to work on, and then we'll pick one of many ones that are there. So that brings us to the end of this class. And thank you so much for your time. And let's see how you can all get your assignments ready by Sunday. So that's the end of this class. I would like to call on Prosper if he's available to wrap up the class. Hello, Mr. Prosper. If you're available, could you wrap up the class?
Yeah, I am. Good evening. I was trying to unmute. Yeah, so guys, so one thing I'd like to address is our attitude toward tax and the rest, right? Submitting tax after deadlines. So it's not really cool that there'll be a deadline for a tax and then a few days later we'll still be talking about that same tax. So please let's try and up our game in that regard. Yeah, so that's basically what I've got to say in that regard. So yeah, I hope you had a swell time as I did. Yeah, and so good night. Keep practicing and do your own study and stuff. All right, guys. Good night, guys.
All right. So good night, everyone. See you guys next time.